Sweet. Back once again. Welcome back to another episode of Uncut and Unfiltered. You will notice today we are in an absolutely stunning setting just outside of Mayfair here in Piccadilly. Stevie, are you excited for this one?
I am, yes.
This is a bit cool, isn't it?
I think so,
Not
mate.
a bad way to spend a Monday morning. Guys, for all of you at home, we're joined today not only by the Dram Pirate, but by Ethan Yule. Ethan, a very warm welcome to Uncut and Unfiltered. And thank you for hosting us here.
Pleasure.
In your beautiful new location here in Burlington Arcade. Ethan, you are the brand advocate for all of Diageo's fine and rare whiskies here at Justerini Brooks. Is that correct?
Yes.
Fantastic.
The worst job in the world.
I know, it's tough, isn't it? You've got 4 whiskies here laid out before us. I mean, some seriously old, some seriously interesting, some seriously rare stuff. It seems, you do have a tough job and a tough Monday morning to crack through with us here. You excited?
I am.
Yeah?
Are you?
I'm beyond
Good.
excited. I'm actually going to do my best to behave. People always say we get guests on, especially when we're in a lovely setting like this. Jake's always behaving really nicely when you've got other guests on. So hopefully today we'll simmer
Steve's
down.
already taken his shoes off, so it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Got really
settling
comfortable.
settling right in. Cool. All right, sweet as enough. Well, look, we'll let you guide the way. I think we're going to start off with the Johnny Walker.
Yeah.
But for those at home, maybe just a little spiel to begin with about Justerini Brooks, the link with Diageo, how it all works, and what you're doing here in your role.
Yeah, sure. So Justerini Brooks, we're a wine and spirits merchant. We are owned by Diageo. We are the oldest brand that Diageo own, which is quite nice.
It's a great little fact.
I know, going back to 1749, and we've held the royal warrant since the kind of early 1760s from King George III.
Okay.
We've got the heritage, we've got the fun, and we've got the products, and we've got the access to the distilleries from the Diageo portfolio that not many other places do, which means that we can source stuff which just makes my job extra fun.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, I've been in the spirits industry for coming up to 10 years. My background's wine, funnily enough. I was a sommelier for a long time.
Okay.
Joined the dark side, a fair few years ago now. So kind of went through that whole bartending kind of restaurants, hotels, and thought I'd step to the other side of the bar back in 2018, actually. So my first job at Diageo was quality testing Guinness, which is a really tough job as well. Job doesn't exist anymore, really, I don't think, in that format. But yeah, I moved over to Justerini Brooks actually about a year ago, very, very nearly a year ago today.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Kind of my job, I see it a bit more of a kind of consultative job where I look after private individuals, bars, restaurants, hotels, and kind of help them build their lists. Finding fun, interesting whiskies from whether it be a meaningful vintage or anything like that. Kind of going all the way up to the casks to explore what they would like, and yeah, just drink some great juice.
Making dreams realities.
Making dreams come true.
Yeah, you're like
That's
a
exactly
whiskey
it.
treasure hunter.
Oh, that's a really good way of putting it. Okay, no, I can't. No, I can't take that one. But,
The
says the Dram Pirate.
Do you know what I mean? Exactly. I was just about to say, spot on.
but sort of being given the job of having to hunt out any type of whiskey that's probably a bit obscure, old, or you know, that must be so much fun. I'd love to know more about that. We could probably get into that. But yeah, that's really cool. Really cool.
And I think I've got the best portfolio in an unbiased way. The best portfolio to choose from. Like, we've got 34 distilleries now, plus all the closed ones. So there's still stocks lying around somewhere.
There is a
Just need to
range
find
of
them.
everything, any style,
Yeah.
you know, any age. You've got the young to the old. You've got some really, really great distilleries as part of the portfolio. No, you're absolutely right. And obviously a lot of old ones coming back into the fold now.
Yeah.
With this whiskey boom, which is phenomenal to see. Really, really great to see. Equally, some ones I think, keeping an eye on and seeing how they go and what's going to happen next. We talked about Rose Isle briefly there just before the camera started rolling, one that I'm watching heavily. And maybe a good place to start here, because you poured us the Johnny Walker Masters Cut, which is Jim Beveridge's last creation.
Kind of last hurrah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So, I mean, we're talking about having loads of distilleries, and we wouldn't have these distilleries if it wasn't for our little friend John Walker.
Right.
Like, the reason we've kind of built up this portfolio is because John wanted access, and Alexander and kind of the family running from there wanted access to go into the blend. It's quite simple as that. I think a lot of people don't realise the breadth, and that's actually the reason why there is so many. We wouldn't have all of these single malts if it wasn't for this guy.
Right.
And yeah, I think blends have had a bit of a rocky time more recently. I think people don't necessarily take them as seriously, but I just don't think it's right.
Yeah.
There's so many amazing things out there, and it gives the blenders the freedom to do something a little bit more creative. And like we're looking at like Jim, this was released in 2021. We did 1,000 bottles of this. And Jim had been kind of master blender for Johnny Walker from the late 70s.
Yeah.
And as you work with all these liquids, you've got millions and millions of casks to choose from. He just wanted to take things right back to basics and say, look, we've got all of these amazingly complicated blends. You've got Blue Label, you've got King George V, you've got all the way up to the kind of masters kind of releases. This is just 2 whiskies. It's 1 grain, 1 malt, Rosal, Cameron Bridge. It's just about finding that nice, perfect balance.
Wow. And as we say, Rosal, one of the newer distilleries. I got it wrong. I was thinking 2012. You said 2009. So it's been around for about 15 years.
Yeah.
And Cameron Bridge, you said?
Yep.
Which, I mean, as grain distilleries go, one of the best, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Replaced Port Dundas, did it not?
Yeah, so we had a few. We had Glenary Royal, we had Port Dundas. Well, they kind of all closed at the same time, and everything just got
Filtered into the one. Yeah.
I mean, Cameron Bridge produced 130 million litres a year or something.
Well, this is it. The scale at Cameron
enormous,
Bridge.
yeah.
Phenomenal.
What do you think?
It's very tropical on the nose and just so light and elegant. Yeah, I mean, you talk about blends, and there's a place for blends, and you're absolutely right. I don't understand. You know, people talk about, I need it to be single malt. I need it to be of this age. It's like, what is it that you want? What flavor profile are you looking for? I wouldn't expect this sort of a flavor profile from a blend, though. And I think it comes down to the elegance of just 2 ingredients working in tandem and working so well. That Cameron Bridge is definitely present.
Yeah, it's very green.
But it is green, but it's also really mellow.
Yeah.
You know, it's not good. Like you think green, and I would often think of cleric, sort of. Do you know what I mean? This is very mellow and light and fruity, and this is the thing I haven't been able to try. I don't know if you've ever tried Rosal by itself. Probably had the joy.
We did a special release last year. I think it was a 12-year-old. It was the first ever release of Rosal.
I missed it. There we
go.
It went over my head. I'd love to try it.
I'll try and find you some
for sure.
I know a guy. But no, it was the first ever release of Rosal. I think it was American Oak, kept it super simple. It was really just them going, right, this is it, welcome to the world.
Right.
They released it when it was ready. It was cask strength. It was part of our 2023 special releases, actually, yeah.
Fantastic, okay, cool.
Where are we at on the ABV, sorry?
So this is 40%.
40%, okay.
Really?
Yeah, as with most Johnny Walkers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, for me, this is sitting really nicely in the glass. I was thinking at least 46%, but... not too thin for you there, Stevie, hey?
No, not too thin, mate. No,
that's all right, isn't it?
No,
I mean, look at the legs on it. It's actually got a really wonderful mouth coating texture.
Yeah. There's just lovely kind of, you know, when you just sort of, you halfway through a cigar, it's a bit wet on the end. Right at the end there, it's got that kind of nice wet cigar kind of spice to it.
Okay. I'm not sure I would get that, but that's a good note. That's a good note. I like it. Cool. For me, it's much on the, it's much more on the tropical notes and kind of like
there's like a honeydew melon,
sugar water,
like,
barley water, something like that.
Yeah, like a 100%. Light sort of tropical fruit. Yeah, like the melons and things like that. Yeah, yeah.
It's not, I just get fresh green apple on the nose for this.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Melon, 100% green melon. Yeah, it's all of
yeah, it's not like heavily ripened fruit. You know, it's not that sort of sweet, but it's lovely.
Yeah. It just shows its simplicity. Things don't need to be overly complicated to be good.
Absolutely.
Correct.
As simple as that.
Correct.
And it's a really nice bottle. If you look at the label actually really closely, it looks like it's leather.
Right, yeah.
They've kind of mottled the label. It's again, the bottle is really simple. There's no frills attached with it. I just think it's really, really good whiskey.
So, I mean, Jim Beveridge leaving obviously puts a big hole in Diageo's sort of you know,
I mean, Emma,
team, I suppose.
Emma's been doing this since Jim left in 2021. Emma's been doing it since. Our HR department clearly have a sense of humour because Emma Walker, Jim Beveridge.
They're picking the right people.
I know, right? There's no coincidence there. No, Emma's absolutely brilliant, and she's kind of taken over the reins. She's done some incredible releases, things like Johnny Walker Umami. She's taken over Blue Label. Like, honestly, she knows what she's doing.
Absolutely. I was actually just about to say, so obviously Emma's taken the role, Jim with a lifetime of experience and knowledge, big shoes to fill. Are you working quite closely with Emma on your side of things here at Justerini, or is she kind of dealing predominantly with the mass market product still at the moment?
No, she's dealing with more than that. So we actually, the next 2 whiskies we're going to taste, Emma curated as well. So Emma does. We've got a team of 12 blenders now up in Scotland, and all of them kind of have their brands or their distilleries that they look after, and also their projects. So things like the special releases that we release, or we've got the Prima and Ultima releases, which we're going to taste next.
And Emma's been responsible for them since Jim stepped away.
Well, some of them, they change every year. So Emma did the most recent Prima and Ultima. We've had Jim did the first release actually. So they kind of take it in turns. But also if they fancy doing something different, they can.
For sure. Right. Okay. Cool. Very cool. Love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Next dram's a Petit Vague then.
Yes.
Petit Vague, for those at home, probably something that you don't see an awful lot of. I haven't tried an awful lot of Petit Vague at all. I can probably count on one hand the number of Petit Vagues I've had.
Me too, probably.
Right? It's one of these drams that is. Why is it so difficult to get your hands on?
I mean, it's closed. It's the first of all.
But why did it go that way? Because in my mind, it was always a really strong brand.
Yeah, so I mean, Petit Vague's got a very interesting past. It was a very short-lived distillery. It only opened and was producing for I think 19 years.
Is it only that? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So
it was a bit longer than that. But
Arthur Bell and Sons, small little independent producer that produces a thing called Bell's. He actually was kind of having a big boom in the 70s and thought, you know what, I need some more liquid to go into the blend.
Right.
The Dufton distillery, funnily enough, had basically like a shared warehouse next door. And they said, you know what, we're going to whack some stills in there.
Right.
So back in the 74, 75, they put these stills in the warehouse, kind of just off the Dufton distillery. And then that's how Petit Vague was born. It was purely just to increase the capacity to go into Bell's. So it was purpose built for blends. It didn't ever release anything as a single malt. It didn't really do anything on its own. But I honestly think this is a real unsung hero. So it closed in, 20 years later, it closed in 92. This is one of my favorite liquids. So this is from our Prima and Ultima 4th release, which came out last year. So Emma curated this.
And this is a 92 vintage as well,
This
right?
is a 1992 vintage.
So last year of production.
Last year production. This is just before. Interestingly, so Petit Vague's occasionally done some work with sherry. These were some of the last 2 PX Oloroso season butts that we filled that year. But what actually makes this really cool is that this is the oldest Petit Vague we can ever release. Obviously, companies like us, distilleries get mothballed, but there is still some liquid lying around or still some casks lying around in warehouses. These are the oldest casks we have in stock.
Amazing.
We're never going to be able to release anything older than this from Petit Vague.
Oh my God, Oloroso and PX, you said?
Yeah.
Because on the nose, I'm not getting that at all. You said it and I was like, really? And it's, it's a nice colour to it, but it's not overly dark. But my God, the balance between that Oloroso and PX is wonderful. It's a real mouthful there.
Unbelievable, right?
Straight away, heaps and heaps of
Very chewy. Yeah.
red fruit, raisins.
But that's what we're kind of getting to know from Petit Vague. If you say we were talking about the 29-year-old that you tried, we've got another 30-year-old from kind of special releases a few years ago. Again, really, really chewy.
Right.
I think less sherry influence on those ones, but you still get this amazing body and this texture from Petit Vague.
Right.
I just think it's such an unsung hero. No one can pronounce it, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, to me, I would always think of Petit Vague, maybe wrongly, kind of similar to a almost like a Milton Duff or something, like very light and drawn back. And I would never think of people putting it in sherry, I suppose, which is maybe why I didn't even consider. But
well, the liquid itself is kind of very Dufton style. I mean, it was next door. I don't actually know, but I'm sure they probably followed some similar processes when making it.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, we made 600 bottles, or just over 600 bottles of this. It's cask strength. This is 55.5. So
okay,
we're bumping up a little bit. But yeah, I think this is chewy. It's green. It's just got that all round. I'm a big texture guy.
Yes.
As you can probably see from the lineup we've got.
Definitely.
Yeah. I like that you talk about the green note a lot, which a lot of people they don't enjoy. But it sounds like that you do in whiskey.
I'm a huge fan.
Seek out that note out, yeah.
Yeah. I think people's palate. I mean, you guys drink, they change over time.
Yeah.
I remember one of the first whiskies I tried was a 10-year-old Lafroig, which is definitely an immediate kind of moment when it's the first thing you're ever going to try.
For sure.
It does maybe put you off whiskey a little bit, but I used to like these big peat monsters. Lagavulin 16 has always been a massive favourite of mine. Huge fan of Talisker. But then as I've kind of tasted more and more, I found that my palate's changed a lot. And now I look for the more delicate, like Dalwhinnie is now kind of is producing some incredible stuff that I'm really big fan of. The kind of lighted, more delicate style liquids, just more floral. I don't know. Maybe I'm going through a phase.
Hey, aren't we all at some
Pity
point?
Vague isn't a bad phase.
It's not a bad phase, yeah.
It's interesting that you say Dalwhinnie, actually. Dalwhinnie is a distillery, to be honest, I feel, and I've always felt, and I drive by, from time to time, and I think I really should stop in and give it some more time, because I've only really ever tried the core kind of supermarket. What is it? It's like the
Winter's Gold.
Thank you. The Winter's Gold. I was thinking the ice something. It's not the ice
Whack
queen.
in the freezer.
Yeah, no.
Honestly, it's incredible.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. See, yeah, no, I wouldn't do that. And it's been a few years since I've had it, but I can seldom think of any other Dalwhinnies that I've really tried. Maybe one sort of special release, but
it's got a few. Yeah,
that's
but
interesting.
Dalwhinnie, it's a meteorology centre, like a registered meteorology
For
centre.
sure,
I think
sure.
Was
Yeah.
Back in the 70s, the coldest temperature recorded in the UK was at Dalwhinnie.
Oh wow,
I think it
that's
was
cool.
-16, something like that.
Wow,
Yeah.
very cool, very cool.
Really cold worm tubs up there. It's.
But this is it as well. Like in theory, I should really enjoy Dalwhinnie, because there's a lot of, like you say, there's the lightness of it, but there's also the worm. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I should maybe I'll go through a bit of a phase myself.
That's
there we
fine.
go.
Go through that phase. Enjoy it.
Yeah,
Embrace
no,
it.
Definitely.
This is unbelievable.
You like a bit of that, do you?
Yeah, this is my first
Fast Pity
Pity
Vague.
Vague, yeah. Yeah, and it's delicious, which is dangerous because there's not a lot of it around. I'm sure it's
Start
not
hunting out old Pity Vague. Good luck, mate. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
You don't really see it in a lot of kind of IBs either. It's not a name that crops up particularly often.
No.
It's got this
I don't think I've
wonderful,
ever seen a cask of it. available.
Syrupy kind of mouthfeel and flavour, It's just so sweet and wow, what a bottle of liquid that is.
Mm-hmm.
Is the distillery still there as a building?
No, it's a block of flats now.
Okay.
Yeah, it got
Shame.
demolished, I think, in the early 2000s.
So it's
sadly.
not being sort of.
Is it one of these ones that you would think about bringing back on a different site, obviously, as a brand name? That's
way above my pay grade. I mean, I'd love to.
If it was your
if
choice,
it was my
what would you
decision,
do?
we'd make it right now, and we'd make it exactly like this.
For sure.
Who knows?
Okay,
knows?
fair enough. Now, that's actually something that's quite interesting. On your side of things, do you get a good bit of insight as to what's going on behind the scenes, what's coming, what's exciting, or are you kind of predominantly dealing with the brands and the expressions that you have, and that's kind of your focus?
Both. I think obviously I get presented with a lot of amazing liquid to talk about, to taste, to just try with people and share. I wish I was more involved in the production, but this is it. This is where Diageo comes into play, and there's a lot of cogs in the machine. So yeah, it's this is an awful answer. I'm so sorry.
No, don't be silly. Don't be silly. It's fair enough.
I would love to be involved in the development, but we have blenders that have got incredible jobs doing that.
Yeah.
We've got innovation teams, we've got marketing teams.
For sure.
To be honest, I'm quite happy just being presented with some amazing liquid and talking about it.
Yeah.
It's a lot less stress off my back, actually.
For sure.
Yeah.
And this is the thing.
Worked out my answer whilst answering it.
Good save, Ethan.
Yeah.
Good save.
That's all good. No, what I'd say as well to that is, like, same as us, you are kind of representing the new wave of whiskey, right? You're a young guy. You've got your whole career ahead of you. Yeah. The fact that you get to do this at kind of the beginning of your career, who knows where you could be in the next 10, 15, 20 years, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
What an opportunity you've got. And it's great being able to, even if you don't know what's coming next or what brands may be rebirthed and whatever, being able to work with some of these things that you can't get your hands on anymore. I mean, what a joy. What a joy.
I mean, I like the fact that it's about, I always say this to people, is whenever, actually I was doing a tasting on Friday and someone said, would you add water to whiskey? And I was like, look, if you want to. And I think this kind of comes into that whole new generation of drinking. It's not all about, I mean, I always say this to people, gone are the days where you need a Chesterfield, a wet dog, kind of a fireplace to drink whiskey.
Yeah, and a smoking jacket.
A smoking jacket, and obviously you wouldn't ever touch it with water or ice or anything like that. But look, drink whiskey, you'd mix gin and tonics, you'd mix cocktails.
Yeah.
Do what you want with it. If
I think
you enjoy it.
you've got to, right? You've got to
Yeah.
explore. You've got to get to grips with it. I think there's no right or wrong. It's just finding out what's right for you.
It's finding the distillery you like, or the whiskey you like, how you like to drink it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I mean, Emma Walker and I, we've chatted before about pairing whiskey and ice cream and pouring whiskey on ice cream before.
Love it.
Game changer. If
Yeah,
you've never done that, I would definitely recommend it.
Gas can. We just did a cocktail episode recently, and my cocktail, I wanted to, because it's summertime, it's hot at the minute, I wanted to include ice cream in it. So I was messing around with like float cocktails and all that. I just decided, you know what? Boozy affogato.
This is it. Or
Ardbeg
smoky
10.
smoky cokey floaty.
I don't. Yeah, smoky cokey floaty. Yeah, true. I don't like Coca-Cola, but that was
enough.
kind of the similar vibe I was trying.
Yeah.
Couldn't quite find a recipe that worked, but Ardbeg 10, double espresso,
Yeah.
and some macadamia nut,
Amazing.
Yeah.
ice cream, bang.
Yeah, there's been a few Saturday nights where I've had a Port Charlotte and some vanilla ice cream hand in hand, and I've just ended up.
Or just some Pedro Jimenez and some ice cream.
Oh.
Just get that on top as well.
Have a bit of fun
All
with
of
it.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Experiment with it.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Very cool.
Nice.
It's lovely as well to hear you saying that, and I think you're right. It is kind of this new wave of, it's not even like the younger generation. I think it's just this new wave mindset.
100%.
Getting a lot of older people who are coming at it now with these open eyes of, oh, come on, guys, we don't have to be like that.
Yeah.
It's not, you know.
The dinosaurs are going extinct in the industry.
Correct,
right?
correct,
Exactly,
correct.
yeah.
Definitely. Which is good. It's really important to see. And I think that, there's still some work to be done here in the UK, I feel. I go abroad sometimes and I see, like in France, loads of young women ordering whiskey cocktails.
Yeah.
I don't see that as much over here. So that's kind of like, I'd love to see a bit more of that.
I think women take up kind of a third of the whiskey drinking market now globally.
Oh, it's
I think
massive.
a lot of people don't realise.
Yeah, no, it's huge.
It's really awful. But even to this day, I have people that in tasting say, "Right, how do you feel about having a mixed group?" And I'm like, "Of course, I want a mixed group."
Really?
Yeah,
That's gas. God. Okay, well, this is it. So there is obviously still a little bit of
There's a
that
little bit of work
closed
to do.
mindset. Bit of work to do for sure.
well, a lot of work.
But there's always a lot of work to do, isn't there? But we'll do a bit at a time. But this is the thing. I think there is a shift that has come in the last 3-4 years that I have seen on a personal level anyway. And it's lovely to see that. And it's great with people like yourself in the positions that you've got, sharing the whiskies that you get access to, and just kind of going, well, no, of course you can put ice in it.
Yeah.
How do you like? What is it that you like about ice? And I think what's important is more than anything is just engaging and understanding. Because as soon as you understand, okay, well, water's going to do this, ice is going to do that, find a cocktail that balances this with that, whatever it is, all of a sudden you're in a whole new sort of realm of exploration. So very cool. I don't want to rush, but
Should we move on to
I've
the
been a-
Petit Vague again?
Yeah, I was going to say, dude, I'm keeping a little bit in each of my glass as I go.
Stevie's shoes have gone back on again. Now.
Shoes are on. I know where the door is and I know where the bottle is. So.
Yeah. The Brora is something that I have been eyeing up, to be honest, since we sat down.
Oh, really?
Because again, Ethan, I'll be honest with you, Brora is something, every time I try it, I love it. I never get to try it. Because who gets to try Brora? And for everyone at
This
home,
is true.
this is part of the Prima and Ultima release from last year. This is a 45-year-old single cask.
No, so this.
Okay.
I should know this.
Sorry. It's a natural cask strength.
It is natural cask strength. 3 refill American oak hoggies.
Okay, so 3
The
hoggies.
last 3 hogsheads that we filled in '77,
Incredible.
which was towards the tail end of Brora's age of peat.
Peated. And this is what we were just talking about
Yes.
before we started. So this is lightly peated.
This will be peated. This is actually for Brora heavily peated.
For Brora, heavy. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And do we have a ppm roughly, do you know?
Oh, that's a great question.
Maybe.
Around 11. I'm going to ballpark here.
So still light
I've
in
never
the
asked the
grand
question, to
scheme
be
of
honest.
things. But,
Yeah.
but I mean, this thing is...
But this is Highland peat as well. So a lot of the time when you try things like Lagavulin and Port Ellen and all these kind of big Isla guys, they're using Isla peat, which has a completely different flavour profile to Highland peat. So
Yeah.
Oban, for example, and is peated, as is Brora, but the peat that they're using is from up in the Highlands, and you get a lot more kind of heather from it.
Right.
Like it's heather, it's
Sweeter
floral,
smoke as well.
it's floral smoke, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas the Isla smoke is very kind of petrol-y, and as we know of all these amazing kind of the Kalila smoke is all very kind of TCP and petrol, whereas this is a bit, it's just different.
It's very underlining, isn't it? It's very subtle, I feel. At the end, you've got like, it's a lovely kind of, almost kind of bonfire-y.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
this is going to linger for a while. So just enjoy this.
That's
This is one of the most
You
incredible.
say it's subtle. That's interesting. It's the backbone of the whole dram. It's
But
like
on the palate, not
carrying
the finish.
all of these
As I was
fruits
saying
to
that,
the
it was
altar,
coming
and then
out,
it's
yeah.
like
It got really heavy. Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah.
Wow, that's good. And this is what I mean. That's what I was just about to say. Sorry, Brora. Never get to try it because who does? Realistically, your average drinker isn't drinking Brora all the time.
No.
This is the Prima and Ultima. This is £15,000 a bottle. You were telling us.
Yes.
It's not a small amount of money for most people. Certainly not for me. And wow, I mean the depth of flavour that you're getting off of this sort of thing. Do you guys sell sample packs for the Old and Rare Prima and Ultima?
We don't, no. So
There is some sample packs that go out for PR purposes.
occasionally,
I've seen,
and also I think if you buy, they are released as a set of 8 initially. So Prima and Ultima 1, 2, 3, and 4, they are a set of 8 whiskies,
Cool.
all vintage. They also come with a sample pack, so that if the buyer wanted to try them all without cracking open the bottle, they can.
Cool. Right. Yeah. Okay. That's probably what I've seen them before.
Yeah.
But I mean, what a joy for you being able to get involved. Because Brora reopened
2021.
Oh God.
Yeah,
It's flying
fairly
now,
recently.
isn't it?
Yeah, they
but
can,
still recent
as
enough.
of this year, they can call it whiskey, which is amazing. So
Phenomenal.
The new make is now officially whiskey.
You've been over there? And...
Yes, yeah, I was there up in April. So
Okay.
Andy Flatt, who's up there, honestly, he is a wizard.
For sure.
Yeah.
I remember him getting that
Very,
job,
very
actually.
well-dressed man as well. He's an incredible collection of tweed.
Right. Okay.
So-
Very good. Fits the job.
Oh, 100%.
Cool. All right. Good. Yeah, he was a phenomenal whiskey writer,
Mm.
and I think he put that to the side to then become Brora's brand home ambassador or whatever it was. But I remember reading a lot of his stuff when I first got in. He is I've never met him, but a true gent. And what an amazing brand for you to be dealing with. Do you see much Brora aside from the Prima and Ultima, the kind of special releases? Do you get sort of single casks that you get to offer out to clients every now and then? And
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes, is the short answer.
okay,
They crop up here and there.
Okay.
We did. I think we also occasionally we put in certain Broras for special bottling. So like the Distiller's 1 of 1, for example, we did a 50-year-old Brora Magnum,
that was in the
Iris that was in.
Oh, sorry, it's not like a
Yeah,
tooth?
yeah, yeah. It was like a tooth, but it looked like an iris.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so that
yeah,
went
yeah,
into
yeah.
the Distiller's 1 of 1. That was in 1972, which is seen as the golden age of Brora.
Right.
When did it close?
1983, so the same year as Port Ellen.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
so-
so during the crash.
During the crash, yeah. So Port Ellen and Brora both had kind of similar. Well, Brora used to be Clynelish. That's
Yeah.
what I mean. They're quite literally a stone's throw away from each other. Although I wouldn't want to try. There's a lot of glass. But yeah, Brora was back in the I want to say back in the 60s. There was quite literally a peat shortage on Isla. So Kalila wasn't able to produce the peated liquid that it needed to go into the Johnny Walker blend. So Brora was effectively created and started producing peated liquid. Sorry, not created, but it started producing peated liquid to make up for what Kalila couldn't
Fill
to go
the
into
gap.
Johnny Walker.
Yeah.
So if you get some of these Johnny Walkers, I couldn't tell you when they would have gone into the blend other than around that time, but there were a lot of Johnny Walkers around that time that would have had peated Brora in there,
Right.
which ordinarily would have been Kalila.
That's
sure.
cool. I like that.
And then kind of towards the tail end of the 70s, 77, 78, stopped producing.
And then when did it reopen?
2021.
2021.
Yeah,
okay.
So
very
when
recent.
we released the Brora triptych as the commemorative reopening bottling. So it was a collection of three bottles, a 72, a 77, and an 82. Absolutely phenomenal. Just to kind of
Has there anything that's been distilled since 2021 that has come out since? No, not yet. No.
It's only 3.
it's
I
only
know,
3,
but,
yeah. And
you
to be
know-
honest,
I don't think they're going to be in a rush to get out 3-year-old Brora after they've done this to the brand. They don't want to then go, here we go, everybody have some. Yeah, no, for sure. It'd be cool to try, though. It would be cool to see where Brora on its new life path is.
this is like fishing for new make.
Well, you've got to ask, right? If you don't ask, you don't get, right? But that's the sort of thing that is interesting to see, I think.
And is it same building stills, everything the same, or is it like?
Yeah, so it's same stills, same building.
Cool.
Fortunately, Diageo has a massive archive. I think it's the biggest spirits archive on the planet. It's a registered archive and everything like that. We have a team of archivists that are there full time. We had a lot of the blueprints from the original Brora distillery. We also interviewed a lot of people that used to work there, because there's always that kind of, here's the recipe, here's how you make it, and this is how we really made it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's definitely that, especially back in the day. So we interviewed people. We effectively recreated the distillery brick for brick as it would have been back in the 70s.
Right.
Or back as it was when it was closed.
Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, you can see around this room actually, there's a lot of, I think on this wall, there's a lot of the original blueprints of.
For sure,
That's all Brora. So yeah, Warehouse 1 is the kind of the secretive one where supposedly all of the best liquids that we've ever produced have come out of. Nobody really knows why. There's a lot of rumours that go around, but I'm sure Andy will tell you the real reason.
For sure.
I'm dobbing him in it now.
Very cool. Now, it's interesting what you said as well about like, oh, this is how we really made it. And you, like you say, you hear stories, you hear all different sorts of bits and pieces. Obviously, Brora, as you say, used to be Clynelish. Clynelish used to be Brora.
Clynelish A, Clynelish B. Taxman said you can't have two distilleries with the same name, so they renamed one. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
But Clynelish is obviously known for its kind of waxy...
Of course, yeah.
Although maybe not so much anymore. I don't know. There's that argument, but there's something I've heard, and I don't know how true it is. So with a pinch of salt, especially with Justerini and Brooks Diageo here with me today, be careful what I say. But supposedly, Clynelish went through a period of shutdown, and they decided to clean things, and they cleaned the still apparently very well. And then all of a sudden, the new make tasted different. Hold on a fucking minute. Where's the waxiness gone? And the guy's like, well, you told us to clean the still properly. Like, we haven't done that in forever. And apparently this was the whole kind of like...
Oops. That was a bit of a, yeah.
But an interesting one. And that's the beauty of, like you say, this is how it's really done. This is how, this is what you want to look out for. And yes, we're told to do this, but we do it this way because it's fucking better. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I think those sorts of stories... this
is what people enjoy. This is where the storytelling aspect comes into whiskey. Correct. I always say to people, it never tastes the same when you're on your own.
Yes. No, correct.
And the fact that you've told that story about Clynelish and we've told all these stories about Brora and Pittybake, the fact that you've experienced your first one, you're never going to be able to do that again.
Yes.
No.
And that's why I love this industry, is because there's always something that people can bring to the table and story that people can tell.
Yes.
And I always steal these stories for when I do tastings and claim them as my own. But...
For sure. No,
I'm joking.
But that's the best way to be. And you know what? We were at that tasting, and this is where we met Ethan recently. For anyone who hasn't seen, we did a bit of content with the whiskey event. Amazing event. And part of that was was it just Diageo's oldest and rarest whiskies, I think it was called. Pretty good title for an event. And Ethan, you very kindly hosted with Colin Dunn and shared some phenomenal whiskies with us. Really, really was. And what's great about people like yourself and Colin is you are kind of the conduit, the middleman between the big conglomerates, the people in the head offices that are all facts and figures and revenue, ultimately, because it has to be that somewhere. And then the people who are on the ground in the distilleries, full on passion. These are the stories. These are the legends. This is how we make it. This is how we really make it, and all of that. And so being that kind of, like I say, that middleman, that conduit, where then you can take both sides of that and bring these beautiful products to people like us at that tasting, or everyone at home today who's sort of drumming along. And hopefully, guys, if you haven't tried any of these particular expressions, drop in the comments if you've tried a Pittybake, a Brora, Port Ellen, or some crazy Johnny Walker. But I feel like that's such a great place to be. Like you say, sharing stories, getting people involved, getting excited. I can't imagine you ever have a dull day.
No, I don't. And I have to say, it's one of the best parts of the job is that, because I don't think I could work for a business that just has one or two distilleries. I love the fact that I've got a huge breadth to choose from. And whenever someone's like, what's your kind of go-to whiskey, what do you drink when you get home? I mean, my all-time favorite whiskey is Talisker 30-year-old. I've said that it's my desert island dram.
Right. Okay.
If I'm on some strange mindset and not fancy that, then I've got so many other whiskies to choose from. And I think that's the breadth and the decision making and the choices that I've got is actually why I think this is such a good place to be.
Yeah.
And also the heritage, like a lot of these brands you're looking at too. I mean, Justerini Brooks is 275 years old this year. We've got Oban's incredibly old. We've got all of these distilleries that go right back, and there's all these stories to tell.
Yeah.
And I've got plenty of them. and I've got plenty of time, hopefully, to tell them.
For sure.
So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
I love it. Really, really cool. Very, very cool indeed. I'm just going back to this Petit Vegan. Fuck, it's opening up again.
Saving a bit, aren't you? Yes.
I'm saving a bit of everything. I
Yeah.
can't not. I want to, I want to keep them going.
So your background, Ethan, was you always into whiskey? Did you come from wine and spirits, or?
I came from wine, so my interest was always in wine. I worked as a sommelier for a few years, specialised in French wine, wrote my uni dissertation on Bordeaux, weirdly enough. Don't think anyone's ever read it. And then I found myself starting to just get more interested in whiskey. My head sommelier at the time was like, "What are you doing? Stop recommending whiskey to people." So she said, "Why don't you try a stint on the bar?" So I did that, fell in love with spirits, and started as kind of cocktail bartender, things like that. Just naturally gravitated towards whiskey. I don't think there was any kind of click moment. It was more, I used to run a bar in Soho that was closed down now, sadly, but was kind of traditionally a whiskey bar. We had an amazing selection. I remember we had a really incredible Glen Grant selection actually back in the day, vintage Glen Grants. That really sparked my interest, and then sidestepped into Diageo, and the rest is history, really.
Right.
So
You were obviously a fan of wine.
Yes.
It was your job. Do you, one of your favourite style of whiskies, do you enjoy that wine influence in whiskey now, coming from that background?
I did.
Yeah.
I still do. I very much love wine casks.
Yeah.
But I did work for the Cotswolds distillery pre-Diageo.
Oh, right.
So when they were first kicking off, yeah. So I worked for them as a brand ambassador. Actually, at the same time, I was working in a bar, and it was around the time that they released their Founder's Choice, which was a full red wine STR cask finish, full cask strength, phenomenal dram. That was what really got me into. I think I've always loved kind of sherry casks, but that was what got me into wine casks.
Unpeated.
Unpeated, yeah. English whiskey.
That's interesting.
Red wine casks.
3 years
phenomenal
old?
dram.
4 years old?
Yeah, it was 3 years and a day, I think it was.
Right, okay.
Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
It's been a while. But yeah, that was what kind of got me into that. And then always had a sweet tooth, really. I've always been a sucker for a sherry cask. But yeah, I think just as we were talking about before, things change. Like
They
people's
do,
palates,
yeah,
like
absolutely.
kind of going from smoked to more delicate whiskies. It's the same with peated and non-peated. It's the same with sherried and non-sherried. And also, I think people are getting really experimental with cask finishing now.
Yeah.
Like we're seeing all sorts of stuff coming up, like mezcal finishes, tequila finishes, all sorts.
Well, yeah, what the Scotch Whisky Association will allow, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there is a
Yeah,
lot
well,
of
they
variety.
opened up again a bit there.
But even like, we talk about Scotch a lot. Obviously, there's some fantastic international distilleries, and there's some fantastic experiments. I mean, something that really sticks out is that green tea cask from McMira.
Oh,
Williamson,
right, okay.
and
Did
things
you not
like
see
that.
that? No, yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
very small, limited edition.
Yeah,
but
but it was it was fantastic. Really opened things up. But yeah, there's so many things going on now.
Also, I think companies need to. Mm-hmm. Because if yes, you've got a house style. I definitely think like you see Royal Lochnagar producing. It's got a really distinct Mortlach as well, really distinct house style. But people also want to try something different. I think there's more and more whiskey drinkers in this world right now, and all of them are looking for that.
Something a bit different.
They want something different.
Special,
They're exploring. They want to try it. And also, we were talking about this as well. Finding a whiskey that you like from a distillery that you like and a way you like to drink it is. Some people may like sherry casks. Some people may like bourbon casks. Some people may like, I don't know. Just trying to think of something really out of the box here. Green tea casks. There we go. That might be their thing. And like, I think grain is making a comeback as well. I'm a huge single grain or just grain whiskey fan. There's
blended malts.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a big category.
Yeah. And I think people just need, there's a lot of noise online about single malts being superior. And I think it's clouding to a certain extent. If people are new into the industry,
Superior to
it's
who?
making them. No, this is what I mean exactly. And I think it's people that are new into the industry and are just trying to find what they like are being
Or
told.
what all these different things mean. People will often say, "Oh, I only drink single malt," and I go, "Cool. What is single malt?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, it's just whiskey that's," and they panic, and it's like,
But it's still
it's fine
blended.
that you don't
A lot
know,
of the
but
time
like,
it's
why
still
are you
blended.
saying something you don't even know what you're talking about, mate? Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing here? Come on, it is. No, it's crazy.
As soon as you tell people that, or someone like that a single malt is also blended,
Exactly. Or pour them a blend and go, yeah, it's a single malt. And they go, oh, I love this. And you go, cool. This is a blend.
Whenever I do that, I've done things like that before and done blind tastings and put Johnny Walker in tastings, and people have often, it comes out really, really high up in the rankings. Yeah. And people, and
it's a mass market product for a reason, right? You know, 9 times out of 10, these are going to slap. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm sorry, this Brora is beyond me now. It like you say, just it's lingering there. Mm-hmm. There's a slight kind of almost like umami-ness to it, but then it's the for me it's leather bound books, rich mahogany. Yeah. It's that old school and that rich, thick, deep but sweet smoke, and it's just heaps of. Oh my god! Watch that bottle. I'll tell you that now. Like I said, I'm going to try and behave. Really, really good. And the Petit Vague as well, like I say, it's opening up. This is very much my style of spirit. And what a joy to be able to try 45-year-old Brora. But yeah, the Petit Vague is very cool as well. What's your favourite thus far?
Do you know what? I reckon it's the Petit Vague, you know.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
It's just, I think Petit Vague's really underrated.
Yeah.
Collectors, obviously, Brora it's long lost. Well, it was a long lost distillery. The original liquid is becoming increasingly kind of scarce. But Petit Vague's just I think it's a real unsung hero.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely.
This is obviously sherry finished or
it's PX Oloroso seasoned. Yeah.
Exclusive or do we? Yeah, cool.
Just straight up bourbon finished, ex-bourbon finished, Petit Vague.
No, we're saying the Petit Vague is Oloroso and PX.
I know, but what I'm saying is Petit Vague that isn't. That is just straight up Petit Vague ex-bourbon.
Right.
Is there much of that going around? Have you tasted it? I'd be really interested to know what it's like with that kind of sweetness stripped out. You know?
Yeah, so we did, I think this is the 29-year-old that you had. So we did special releases, I want to say 2019 and 2020. We did a 29-year-old and a 30-year-old.
Yeah, I think it was the 2020 one.
The kind of green bottle.
Correct. Leaves and stuff.
Yeah, like leaves and things like that. They were, I think one of those was bourbon casks, and it's just a lot more green.
Right.
Petit Vague's got this really lovely orchard, but also quite nutty style. It's got a lovely, like the texture's still there though, honestly. I think I was saying earlier, I'm a texture guy, and whiskies for me that just coat your tongue, coat your mouth, kind of chewy to a certain extent. It's there, but it's a different kind of sweetness.
For sure.
Whereas this, you've got that kind of proper sherry. You can get it. It's like kind of tannic to a certain extent.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Light tannins, but
absolutely.
They do provide a certain element of structure to the dram, though. Definitely, that's a point actually.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Nice.
Very, very cool. Where are you at, Ethan? Out of interest, because you've tried these before. These are drams that you get to. Maybe not frequent, but you know.
It's not a daily drink for me.
No, if it was, I'd be very jealous.
Yeah, I thought I'd get something special out on a Monday morning.
So what's you know?
I mean, the Petit Vague has a soft spot in my heart. Okay. I think from the Prima Ultima 4th release, it was an unsung hero. The Brora is probably one of the best. Well, it's definitely one of the best whiskies I've ever had in my life.
Yeah,
and hands down, like it's definitely a special occasion whiskey. It's not something that you'd open every day.
It's Monday today, so thank you so much, everyone at home. Like we say, this is a seriously special occasion here, so thank you for sharing.
But I'm very seasonal. When people ask me what I drink when I'm at home, it's definitely a beer or a glass of wine. Like it's like you end up kind of acquiring all these bottles and things like that, whether it be samples. I do a lot of tasting and a lot of sampling during the day. I don't necessarily go home and drink whiskey.
Yeah.
So I just enjoy it I'm very kind of seasonal, very mood dependent. If I fancy a dram, I'm quite specific about what I fancy at the time. I think because we're in like you guys are the same, because we're in the fortunate position, we've tried a lot of whiskey, probably have a lot of whiskey as well. You might think, right, I'm very much in the mood for a Glenelgan 18-year-old or something. Do you know what I mean? Or sometimes my kind of daily kind of pouring whiskey is Clynelish 14.
Which is such a touch. Very, very good shout, yeah. Okay, fair play. Yeah. And of these three today, where are we at so far? Because we're going to move on to something that you haven't tried either. So I just want to know where you're at.
Okay, I'm just going to go with the Brora. I'm going to. You said Petit Vague. I can't. That Brora is just phenomenal.
It's too good.
It's mind blowing.
Okay, all right. So I'm on the same page with you at the minute. Petit Vague, fighting it out. Let's move
Maybe
on
I'm
to the
going back
last
to my
one.
peated phase.
Right, yeah. The last one is a bottle that's actually you purchased as part of your personal collection. So these are, the first three are part of Diageo and what you get to sample.
Yeah.
So,
So the last one is
But this
part
is your
of-
bottle.
This is it's a bottle that I've had in my house for a while actually.
Well, thank you for bringing it.
Pleasure.
Tell us a little bit about it, because you're telling us already, but for everyone at home,
Yeah.
this is pretty cool.
So this is Port Ellen.
Yeah, which is
Small-
already pretty
small
cool.
distillery
Just
here.
yeah.
So you might have heard of the Diageo special releases. We've released them every year since kind of the early noughties. This is from the first release of special releases. This is the Port Ellen first release. It's
Phenomenal.
a 22-year-old. It's the youngest Port Ellen I've actually not tried, so we're going to try this together.
Cool.
It's still sealed.
For everyone at home.
So this is a
have lot of gander.
1979 22-year-old Port Ellen.
Sorry, when you say the first release that they brought out since,
So
since
first
it
distillery
closed.
of
release
the
of Port Ellen.
Diageo
Yeah.
special releases.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
first release of Port Ellen distillery release.
Oh,
As far as I'm aware,
Oh,
I may be
legit.
wrong, and
Oh,
there
the
might be
two
a
of them.
couple of other
Cool.
kind of more niche bottlings.
this is
but
a real first.
As far as I'm aware, this
That's
is
cool.
the first release distillery bottling we did.
Cool. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
And what's cool about this as well, if you guys at home can see, is still sealed, but levels have dropped a little bit.
I mean, it's
so-
not cool, is it? Really? Like,
Well,
lost
it's a
some
cool.
liquid there, mate.
Really,
But I know what you're going to say. I'm
the
just
angels
not
have
too
really
much
good
for long.
taste.
it's interesting. The angels do have a good taste, exactly. It's an interesting point, though, because we talk
Yes.
about bottle aging and does whiskey mature in the bottle? And in theory, if it's sealed, no. In theory, I mean, it shouldn't really age.
I mean, you can
obviously.
see the foil's in pretty good tact.
And this is the thing.
Yeah.
It's all looking absolutely grand, but that will have oxidized at least a small amount.
Yeah.
So we can assume that it will probably taste at least a little bit different
Yeah.
to what it probably would have done when it was originally bottled. So maybe it's not a good thing. Yeah, maybe it's not a cool thing. Maybe it's
Well, it's his bottle, mate.
Well, let's
You're-
open it and find out.
Exactly.
There we go.
Let's
You can
see.
do the- you can
Well,
do the
please,
honors.
Ethan, it's your bottle. Please crack away. Let's get a nice pop for everyone
get a
at
nice
home. But wow, okay, so not just the first special release, it's potentially the first Port Ellen release by Diageo.
Do you mind me asking where you picked this up? Is it an auction?
It was an
from
auction, yeah.
direct?
It was an auction.
Cool. Do you mind me asking what you paid for it?
I actually don't remember.
I'll tell you what, nowadays, Stevie, you're
Was it a while
looking
ago, was it?
anywhere
It was
between...
last year. I
Okay,
think it was
so not-
around the 2000 mark.
Okay.
Quite recent then.
So you're
ish.
looking anywhere between 1800 and up to £5,000
Sure.
for this.
Yeah.
And this is original Port Ellen liquid, so this is obviously now there's one less bottle of this in the world. So
There we go. If you've got a
Okay.
bottle at home, happy days.
There we go.
Ethan's just made yours a little bit more valuable.
I don't like to talk about that. Oh no.
Oh no!
The worst things just happened.
Oh,
Well, there we
dear.
go, that's
okay.
all
Right,
This
let's
is gonna be
cut the
good
podcast
fun.
short.
Do you want me to grab you something?
I will get a corkscrew actually from upstairs.
Do you want me to
I'll
get
tell you
you
what,
one?
I'm going to leave the show. Do you want me to do this on camera? Because otherwise,
No,
I'm
no,
gonna
no, it's fine.
absolutely tank it.
Crack away, do what you need to do.
Whiskies whilst we talk amongst ourselves. Jake will probably
Sometimes-
empty the brewer into his pocket.
Yeah.
Back up with apple juice.
It always tasted like that. Yeah, no, this is the thing though, man. You have old bottles like that. The
Yeah.
corks, we had our alternatives episode, and
Yes, yeah,
I think
yeah,
two
yeah.
of those corks are
Yeah.
broken, right?
It happens a lot with wine for me when I have sort of old vintages, you know. But
sure.
it's just part and parcel of having something old, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't be helped sometimes. Though-
Storage is really important. I've no doubt that Ethan's very particular about how he
Yes.
stores his stuff. But if he only picked this up last year from an auction, who knows how it's been stored for the previous 20 odd years,
well,
right?
Exactly. I mean, given the fact that it's got something that it could have been on a window ledge for 20 years. or
Exactly.
something, you know what I mean?
Exactly. But my God, what a special lineup we are on, man. I'm blown away by this Brora. I'm trying to think of the Brora, because like I say, I think I can probably count the Petit Vague and the Brora. Each of them, I've had less than 5 of each. I think I've only had, that will probably be my 3rd Petit Vague. And Brora-wise, maybe my 4th, maybe my 5th.
Yeah, I think I've had one before
Right.
this.
I went to like quite a few older rares, so I've,
Yep.
but
yeah, they're going to be
I
there.
think that's the best Brora I've ever tried, dude.
It's
And it
been-
must be the oldest.
It's been a pretty crazy week for you, mate. There's some of your favourite whiskies of all time.
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
last
yeah,
couple
yeah,
of episodes, you know,
yeah. That's so
which
true.
is
That's so
big.
true.
I mean, where do
It
we go
has
from
been a-
here, mate? You need to tap up.
Phenomenal.
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Guys, let us know. What do you want us to do next? Obviously, we've had great
Need
episodes
to go to Gordon
recently.
MacPhail and get them to crack open some of their 70-year-old
In fairness, we haven't had
but-
Gordon MacPhail on. We should definitely have Gordon
We
MacPhail
haven't had
on.
them on. Have we? We've done an episode, but yeah.
No, but we did their kind of core range stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't done this with Gordon and MacPhail. And if anyone's watching, guys, I mean, in fairness, the Gordon and MacPhail team always come to shows with absolute gems. They're very good at sharing and always treat us extremely well.
Yeah, this brewer, I mean,
I'm getting
I'm not
kind
going
of
back on what I said at all.
a cedary, perfumey note off of it as well now, lightly.
and actually, I'm sticking with it. The end there, the finish, the linger, smoke, but so gently, but
Yeah.
it's still quite kind of thick. But
Oh,
there's still a load of fruit on the palate there, and that's what I got.
the smoke is at the
initially.
back of your mouth.
Yeah.
And the fruit is at the front of your palate, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I always wonder though if it's placebo when we're sort of drinking these things. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, I'd like to think that I've had enough drams now to know
In
what's
what
good
sense?
and what's not.
What's placebo? What that you're getting excited
Well,
over
look,
the fact
the
that it's
set and setting.
Oh,
how
what you think if I
old,
gave this to you
closed,
blind?
You know what I mean?
Maybe you wouldn't think so much of it.
No, I think I would still notice. Yeah, but at the same time, I think there is that element of excitement. And everything.
Hey, listen,
like
when
that.
somebody
And
takes out a
appreciation.
bottle that is £15,000, realistically,
That's it.
I'm not going to be buying that.
Yeah.
You're not going to be
We
buying
better
it, right?
enjoy it.
Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, well, whatever. That's one way to put it. Fucking better enjoy this. Yeah, no, look, I think there is a certain amount of respect that is needed for the moment. Being able to then turn away and go, did I enjoy that or not? You can be honest, but I think that respect for the moment. It's interesting though, because Ethan was obviously talking about the 101, that they had the Brora, which is like a tooth. I think it's sold.
Yeah, I never saw that.
Oh, it's seriously
Oh
cool.
no, actually, I did see that. I know.
I'm sure I would have
exactly-
sent it through
I
to
know
you.
exactly. Yeah.
But I remember... Oh, we got it.
That's okay, mate.
Amazing. Settle back in there, Ethan. I was just saying about what Stevie was saying about, like, do you reckon if we tried some of these blind, we'd be as excited? Or do you think maybe there's the fact that we're being lucky enough to know that, oh, wow, this is 45-year-old, or, 29, 30-year-old Petit Vague, sorry.
Well, I'd be interested to. I'm doing a social experiment in this space, and I have a whiskey for
Right now.
At the moment, we're part of it.
it's more to see what people's thoughts are. It's actually to figure that out.
Right.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah,
I'll get you guys involved.
Cool. I love that.
Should we pour? I'll pour this actually. Unless you want to talk more about it.
Yeah, no, crack away, please, crack away.
That's show business.
You saved it.
Yeah, we've got no cork in the bottle as well. Hopefully.
Genuine. Oh, good effort.
Fortunately, being a wine business, we've got these really fancy bottle openers that are designed to get old corks out of wine bottles.
Right.
Um,
I don't mind a bit of cork. It adds to the... you talk about mouthfeel. There you go.
Yeah.
Adds to that mouthfeel, doesn't it?
yeah, they kind of go in at the side and you squeeze them and they pull them out.
I've seen
You've
them.
seen those,
Yeah. The other thing that's very cool is the old school, and you, as a sommelier, you must have seen these before, where it's super old and they just burn the top off.
The port ones where they they take
Just take the whole bit of glass off. Is that
fun.
just for port, is it?
Normally it's a port because the cork disintegrates a lot more than it does with
Because of the
normally
sugars.
in old wine you can still get it out. But
Okay.
port is like
Is that because of the sugar?
Yeah.
Right. It's crazy. Have you seen that before, Stevie?
No.
They literally put
mean,
this
I've seen,
metal
over
tongs.
like a Bunsen burner, and then they just get tongs.
They
And they
literally
go
knock off the whole neck of the bottle.
Oh, actually, no, I have seen that. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Of course.
pretty wild. Oh wow!
Right.
So where are we at? We're at 22
This is
years old.
22-year-old Port Ellen.
56.2.
56.2, one of 6,000 bottles. This is the first time I'm trying this as well, so I'm quite excited. That nose is classic Port Ellen.
Yeah, it
isn't
is very, very clean cut Port Ellen there from the off. Yeah.
The fact that we can say that's pretty nice, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, very privileged position, definitely.
Oh.
It's got these
That's,
lovely medicinal notes to it.
It's interesting that you say that. That's in the background a little bit for me. I'm getting more of a, and it sounds bad, but it's not. It's delicious. I'm getting a very slight fishy note before that.
Really?
Yeah, very, very light. Although now that you've said it, the medicinal side of it is growing a little bit.
I mean, I tend to get like grapefruit, eucalyptus, those are my two kind of key Port Ellen tasting notes when it comes to identifying it.
Right.
I think one of the best tasting notes I've had for Port Ellen from someone was it's like licking a church pew, but in the best way possible.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
I think it was very, very specific, but you kind of get it.
That's a Catholic tasting, though, that is. Right.
There's a lovely, sweet, dirty note in there. When I say dirt, I mean like soil, you know, like earthy.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, this gives me this is quite an odd humour me here, but you know that scene in Titanic where Jack's
Wild,
walking.
okay.
Jack's walking.
We
down
love
the
a
big,
good movie movie scene. Go on.
Jack's walking down the big staircase, kind of tucked up because he's kind of joining the first class guys.
Right.
for
Yeah.
dinner.
Yeah.
You can smell the wood varnish. You can smell the cigars that are probably like smoke that's in the air.
Right.
Jack's dressed up, but he definitely is a bit out of place. I feel like that's how this feels in
I
a glass.
love that. What a
You've
tasting
got like
note.
varnish, kind of dusty cigar smoke, but it's dressed up.
Yeah.
But it knows that it wants to get peat mud under its nails, and like that's.
It wants to go dancing with all of the people in the.
It does exactly that.
Are you saying rose is the dirt under the nails?
No, I'm saying this is this wants rose.
Oh, this one's rose, right? Yeah.
It just wants to get down and dirty.
It's the varnish.
It's so
That's a
elegant though,
very
isn't it?
good note, but like old school varnish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's
The
crisp.
TCP, the medicinal side of it is really interesting.
Do you get a lot of TCP from
Not
this?
it's like in and out though. The medicinal, it's like a
Right.
wave of.
It's more of a dirty kind of peat for me than TCP.
No, I get an element of that.
I've had plaster as in sticking plaster from Port Ellens before.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you open a fresh kind of the
Yes.
rubbery, yeah.
Wow.
It's just really clean, but also dirty at the same time.
There's
isn't it?
this is
It's like the
there's a lot going on in this glass.
Yeah.
This is probably the most sort of mercurial and diverse of the four.
Mm.
It's very.
And the smoke's just soft. I mean, even for relatively young Port Ellen, I don't think I've seen one younger than this, really, but definitely not a distillery bottling. But this is, like, it's just singing. Quite happy just sitting here and...
Yeah.
And yeah, we managed to save a bit of the cork and the bottle from
Good.
destruction.
Well, thank you for opening this.
This is
That's-
insane.
That's really special.
This is something that's quite light and beautiful in an industrial setting for me.
I like that as well.
Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like it's like you're in a really beautiful garden. There's that sort of floral notes to it a little bit, but then you've got the smog of London or whatever it is around you.
Right.
That's kind of. There is that weird fishy note that I'm touching on again and again. I don't know
You
what
get
that
seaweed,
is.
that's pretty common.
Yeah,
I
maybe a
think-
little bit
yeah.
seaweedy. Maybe that's a bit more accurate. I don't know.
I mean,
It's
the
interesting.
real reason I bought this is obviously Port Ellen. It's not really, it's pretty common knowledge now that Port Ellen reopened earlier this year.
Which is very exciting.
Very exciting indeed.
Yeah.
It was only open for 16, 17 years over the last century,
Right.
producing liquid. So it's pretty. I mean, it's one of the most legendary distilleries, I think. Anyway, especially when it comes to ghost distilleries.
Yes.
But a lot of people, I don't think, realise how innovative Port Ellen was and actually what it did to change the industry.
Right.
Like, so Port Ellen was I think the first distillery to export to the US from Scotland.
Really?
Yeah, it was one of the first distilleries to start experimenting and importing sherry
Legally,
casks.
anyway, probably.
Legally, yeah. But I think what's really cool is that it really shaped modern distillation, and that the spirit safe that I would say 99.9% of all spirits of all distilleries have now. Port Ellen was the first one to have it.
Right.
It was, they kind of, I don't want to say invented it, but they were the first distillery to have a spirit safe.
And am I wrong in thinking that Port Ellen are being quite sort of creative now, moving forward in their new age as well? They're doing a few different. It's quite experimental, or am I completely wrong?
Yeah,
on that?
absolutely. I mean, it's what we're trying to do now we've reopened it is really follow the ethos that it's always had, that innovation, the kind of looking into the future and about, look, this is what whiskey is now, but what is whiskey going to be in 10, 15, 20 years time? And like it's kind of what it was. Port Ellen, the reason it was mothballed back in the 80s is it was either Port Ellen or Lagavulin.
Right.
Both of them have quite a similar flavour profile. We know this if you've tied them side by side. But Lagavulin had a really strong history of releasing older things. This is back in the kind of 70s and 80s. You could see a lot of older Lagavulins going around, so we knew what it was going to be like.
Right.
We hadn't released any old Port Ellen.
Right.
It had all gone straight into blends. I mean, we were talking about Johnny Walker, the King George V.
Yeah.
Port Ellen was going into all of these blends before,
Right.
so we'd never seen old mature Port Ellen. So we went, right, let's mothball it.
Fair enough. Right.
But then we rediscovered a load of casks in the 90s and went, oh no.
We were actually onto something
This is
really
amazing.
fucking good. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly that. And I mean, now I think that's what's given it the legendary status that it has. And I mean, the liquid definitely holds up. It stands up. So there's a lot of distilleries that have that kind of price tag. They have that name. And sometimes the liquid's not quite there.
Right. Definitely.
It's good. It's got the price tag. It's got the fancy marketing. It's got the fancy packaging. But is the liquid as good? And I think that's one thing I love about, especially some of the things that we do, and most of pretty much everything that we release, is the liquid always holds up.
Right.
And Port Ellen has consistently done that. I've never tried one that I've gone,
Yeah.
yeah. We're back to your question actually about what we're doing at the moment. Is we're kind of looking at the science of smoke now. Obviously, Port Ellen is all about the kind of the peat there as one of the core flavors to it. We're looking at how we can extract it, how we can experiment with it, how we can look at the different cuts that we take from the distillation, and kind of we've got the two. So the original stills that were at the distillery, we don't have them anymore. They were actually sold off to someone in India when the distillery closed. So someone in India either has some incredible garden decoration or has repurposed them, or there might be an Indian whiskey that's coming out that is actually using Port Ellen's original stills.
I would love that. I would love that.
That would be incredible, right?
Really cool.
We just don't know. So but as we were talking about earlier about having the archive, we had the exact kind of specs of the original.
So they've
stills,
built the stills kind of
like for like.
Right.
We're calling them the Phoenix stills because they've risen from the ashes.
Yeah.
And then we have some smaller experimental stills as well where we can mess around
Right.
with
This
them.
is what I was reading about. So there is that side of okay.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking the question. I couldn't think if I was getting that right. But okay, great.
Yeah.
And I mean, for everyone at home, obviously, trip to Islay, if it's not something you've already done, is high up on the list of all-time whiskey journeys. And I mean, Stevie and I have been, my God, what a trip it was, right? I mean, phenomenal. The people, I think, is what stands out the most for me.
Very special place.
It is a place that will make anyone feel welcome, make anyone feel at home, I think. But obviously, aside from the people, the distilleries, the incredible surroundings, the stories, and getting involved with really, really great juice. But getting over to Islay and now Port Ellen, I mean, a Port Ellen tour, it's not really something for the everyman, unfortunately.
Sadly, yeah. I mean, we are producing liquid now.
For sure.
Don't think we're going to be releasing anything anytime soon.
Right. This is what I was just about to come on to. So yeah, but this is it. Ultimately, what you're doing here, it's a site that is going to allow people to experience ultimately this product, this super high-end premium product that unfortunately it can't be for everyone because there's not enough of it. So as much as you probably love to go,
a bottle or have
30 quid, come in, have a try, it's just, it would be gone, right?
Yeah, that's on the short term though, yeah? Like, eventually, obviously, there will be a core range coming back out, or no?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's
so
a great...
The stills are on.
Stills, I think the stills, what was it? I want to... 15th of March, I want to say.
Okay.
They turned on...
Yeah, it was when
everything like that.
it was around...
You're going to be filling casks, obviously, but there's no real
I don't think there's
kind of
going to be any
plan
plans
as
other
such.
than mature. Get as much stuff in cask and start maturing it and then watch it. I doubt that they've probably thought... But I can't imagine that they're thinking, oh, let's get something in the bottle at 8. They're going to be thinking, let's see how it is when it's 10, 12, 15. I would imagine that they're probably going to be waiting a long time.
Well, the great thing is that you've got enough distilleries where you can wait if you want to. There's
yeah,
no rush.
Exactly.
So there's not a visitor centre there.
There is.
There is, yeah. You can't just walk in, though. It's a kind of private...
booking and it's very, very luxurious.
Okay.
Some people would say expensive. It's not cheap. But my God, you get your money. I've seen, I haven't been myself.
So
I've seen
anyone
pictures.
Can book in, or
I don't think it's anyone. I mean, in theory, I suppose if you book
anyone
in
with
advance,
a Coots bank account.
You've got to have a platinum Amex, exactly. No, yeah, I think.
Okay, that's cool to know. I didn't know that.
In theory, you can book in advance if you want to.
You can book. It goes. The request goes through to our
Right.
kind of
You probably got to join a queue.
experiences team
Sure.
in
Right.
Scotland.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's
right,
cool.
right,
And
cool.
have you been since they reopened?
No, I'm actually going in a couple of weeks, and I'm very
Oh.
excited. I've not been to the distillery yet since it's been. I've seen
That's
pictures, I've seen it on Zoom, I've had tours on FaceTime, but I've not been to see it in the flesh yet.
Lived
So
and
Lovely.
breathed it. Yeah.
Very
Well, you've got
excited.
your open bottle to bring along with you now. So
I'll
you
try and
can-
get it on the flight, try and decant it and sneak it onto that interesting 45.
If you want, I'll drive it up to Scotland and I'll look after it. For a couple of weeks.
He's gonna have a
He
very-
knows me too well already. It's
His
like,
car
nah.
boot's going to be incredibly heavy by the end of today.
Yeah.
But no, I mean,
Cool.
this is part of the reason, like we did with the Brora triptych when we reopened Brora. We also released Port Ellen Gemini, which was
Yeah.
the commemorative release.
The two bottles.
The two bottles, two
Side by
70
side.
bottles,
Yeah.
both 1978 from 3 casks. They spent the first chunk of their lives as the same product, and then they were finished in
Two separate.
two separate
Fantastic.
kind of maturation processes. So they're both absolutely stunning. So one was the original cask, and it's all about looking to what Port Ellen's going to be in the future. They kept it. It was they were European oak, sorry. So they were just repurposed back into another European oak cask to see what it was going to be like. The other, so after 42 years, the other side, the remnant cask is what we call it. And I've had a lot of questions about what a remnant cask is, and it's effectively, think of a skillet. So whenever whenever distilleries do a run, there's always a bit of kind of overrun that doesn't fit in the casks. So they kind of place it in this holding cask, the remnant cask. So effectively, this remnant, the whiskey was finished for 2 years in effectively a cask that has touched every Port Ellen that has been there for the last
fucking
kind of,
cool.
I don't know how long, I'm going to say decade or so,
Right.
but it's effectively been seasoned by Port Ellen.
Yeah.
Which
Like
I
a
think
Solera system for Port Ellen.
Kind of.
I
yeah.
love it.
But it's that's looking back at what Port Ellen's history is, what it's done in the past, and that's where these two. I mean, the idea behind them being called Gemini is they're the same, but they're not alike. But honestly, we made about 270 sets of this, and it's just absolutely phenomenal liquid.
Right.
I wish I bought some samples.
This is the 40.
Both 44 years old.
Both 44.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Serious age on them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
And
the
a
oldest-
beautiful box they come in. As...
Yeah, very space age, but it's great.
Yeah, it is. It's cool. It's a bit different.
100%. But it's all about Port Ellen being kind of about the future. It's
What's next?
trailblazing. That's the kind of the idea behind it. And it's not just, as we say, the liquid holds up. Like, it's absolutely stunning. Okay, have you changed your favourite?
Haven't you?
The Petit
You're the
Vague
other way
is
around. Yeah,
really,
yeah.
really opening up. Yeah, no, I'm Johnny Walker, Petit Vague,
Yeah.
Brora, Port Ellen. Yeah, that Petit Vague is it's like slightly burnt, like caramelly almost.
So Raj, who you know, who works kind of with me, he looks after, he's one of our private client managers. Have you ever been to Hawksmoor and had the salted caramel Rolos that you often get after dinner?
I was literally
That's
talking
his
to Matt
tasting
last
note
night.
of the Petit Vague.
Oh, legit?
Yeah, that's his tasting note for this Petit Vague. He calls
Right.
it the Hawksmoor salted caramel Rolos. And I think
They're
he's
insane.
so good.
They're
but
so
you get
good.
that
Yeah,
chocolatiness,
yeah.
you get the saltiness, you get the brininess kind of to a certain extent.
Saltiness a little bit, yeah. It's the burnt caramelly toffiness to me. That's a very that's good. That's gas as well, because when I was here last, I was talking to Raj about going to the Hawksmoor and saying I can't wait to have the Rolos. Cool. All right. Yeah. That's a great.
I think also how we talk about the flavors. I mean, we've probably come up with some wacky tasting notes today, but I think gone are the days when people are talking about these really niche flavors, and I get that people are trying to be specific about it, but when we're trying to encourage people to drink whiskey in the world,
draw
need to
people into
we're
the
trying to draw people
category.
in. We're trying to bring them. The more people drinking whiskey, the better it is for everyone.
I think you said about a 54-year-old Singleton, which is £25,000 a bottle, and I was standing there thinking, what can I tell the people at home after this incredible tasting that I've been on? How can I relay what and I couldn't. And I was thinking, I think I said on the camera, I'm not going to bother trying to come up with tasting notes because it won't do it justice. And you said they're boozy Jaffa cakes. And I thought, fuck, that's so true as well.
Yeah.
Like, but you're taking what is
That
ultimately
chocolate, that orange,
a
the biscuitiness.
54-year-old whiskey that's 25 grand a bottle, and you're making it accessible to just
it's for people to
Joe
understand.
Blogs, anyone. Oh, cool, I love Jaffa cakes.
But for
Probably
people
had
to
so many people watching
understand
that going, I'll get a bottle.
Well, exactly. As you said, like, you can go down that trail of coming up with really bizarre and
niche sort of
things, but
they may be
it
more
needs to be
accurate.
relatable. Yeah, for sure.
They may be more
And also,
accurate,
it's
but people
it's
just
all
don't. I couldn't
subjective
tell
as
you what
well,
castor
right?
oil
So
smells like,
for sure.
but I've seen castor oil come up in so many different kind of
That's interesting.
notes, things
Yeah.
like that.
Right.
I mean, I think we just want to make whiskey.
Who's drinking castor oil? I mean,
Whiskey drinkers.
Whiskey drinkers. Yeah. But I think it's about introducing people and making whiskey less scary.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
It is a big category. There's a lot of words. There's a lot of terminology. There's a lot of whiskey. There's a lot of people that talk about whiskey. And what we want to do is make it fun and enjoyable and bring people in on the journey and get people comfortable talking about it. Because we don't want people buying these bottles from wherever they want to start, Tesco, Sainsbury's and Whiskey Exchange or Justerini Brooks, buying these bottles to sit at home and drink it and go, oh, I don't enjoy this because I don't think I'm getting what I've been told I should be getting. And I think this is why I love what you guys do and everything. It's just honest, it's understandable, and that's what I try and bring to my tasting notes, even though we're tasting some completely kind of sometimes
Crazy
eye-watering whiskies.
Yeah.
I still need to talk about them with people. And
You have a palate, you have a wealth of
Yeah.
experience from your own life that you can draw on, and there's no point. And I completely
you have to
agree.
make it much more approachable because I think and we've all been there, right? When you first got into whiskey, it's quite a daunting thing.
But I think you
know-
sound like you've had a similar journey into whiskey from me, from the point of view of you were wine before, which granted, wine tasting notes are a little bit more, I'd say, kind of like bourbon. They can be fit into a bit of a smaller box.
Yeah. Don't tell my old boss, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Sorry, say the wrong thing. But like, bourbon is this, wine is this, whiskey can, I mean, in the grand scheme of it, be this, right?
Everything, yeah.
It is everything in the kitchen sink. So this is it. I think what's interesting about that is you've come in from wine, you've also come in from a professional point of view, which is how I got into whiskey. And so people talk about their journey into whiskey, and a lot of our listeners will be saying, I started with OB Glendronach or Talisker or whatever it may be. I started with IB stuff. I started with cask samples. And so this is the thing. It's crazy how different people get into these different things, but making it all accessible, bringing all, that's the important part.
And it's interesting because you talk about IBs and so people have their expressions. They want to do things their own way. They're like, okay, I really love this distillery's character, but I want to tweak it. I think Glen Elgin, you see a lot of independent bottlings of Glen Elgin.
Yeah.
It's got its distinct character, and that's part of the reason we released the Flora and Fauna
Right.
range. All of these distilleries that you couldn't necessarily buy as a single malt beforehand, they wanted to say that you see them you see Strathmills, Tierninix, Inchgowers, whatever it may be.
The Dalhuane from the Flora
The
and Fauna.
Dalhuane Flora and Fauna is impeccable.
Banging, yeah.
It was to give people an opportunity to say, these go into our blends,
Right.
try them as they come, and
Yeah,
as
yeah.
we like
Try the
them.
component parts of this recipe.
And it's amazing. I've done Johnny Walker tastings before where I've put a real range of the Flora and Fauna bottlings in there and said, look, these make up this distillery of this whiskey. This is a blend that's made up from XYZ. It might be Blair Athol, it might be Dalhuane, as you say, it might be Mortlach, I don't know, but it's
accessible as well. Actually, that range very accessible.
100%,
Yeah.
incredibly accessible.
It was actually, I think, my first year or two, I did dip into a few of them because you could pick them up anywhere, really.
50 quid?
Yeah, and for 50, 60 quid. So, yeah, it's a really good
No
point,
more, right?
Ethan.
There are no more.
I mean, there's still a fair few of them floating around.
Yeah, but
there's
they're
some
not
that have gone.
continued.
Oh, right.
Or no, we're not sure.
Don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But things like the Mortlach has gone. Sadly, that was
sure.
one of the most
What is it, the
popular.
Ben Rins that I used to pick up?
Ben
a
Rins
couple
is
of
still-
times?
flying
Yeah. Is that
around.
the 16-year-old, I think?
I don't know, actually.
I can't remember now.
I
Is
think
it
it's
10 or 12?
16. Yeah,
I think it's younger than
Oh,
16.
is it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've
But
got one in my
that's-
cupboard at home, whatever it is. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Crack it
too.
open, it's fine.
Oh, it's always there. Yeah, no,
Exactly,
it's
yeah.
good. I don't know how old it is, but it tastes good, so who cares? Yeah.
But yeah, this is it. Accessible and a really good way. We talk about this a lot of the time, sort of trying things in their sort of pure form to understand what makes up a blend or a cast finish or whatever it may be. So, yeah.
And we're talking about how people want to find what they like to drink, and that's really, I think, one of the ways I found my style. I tried the Tierninich, I tried the Blair Athol's and sherry. There's got such a plethora of distillery styles there that you can go, right, I want to try that. And you pick one, you go, right, I know what I'm finding what I like now.
Yeah.
It works.
And once you figure out what it is you like about this one,
Go from there.
exactly. Take that
Go
information.
to whiskey bars,
run
go and
off to
speak
the
to
next.
people and say,
Yeah.
look, I like this style of whiskey. I like something fruity. I like something kind of with a bit of spice to it.
Yeah.
I think kind of talking about regions now has gone a bit all over the place because there's so many anomalies, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think back in the day you used to be able to talk about Highland whiskey tasting like this,
Right.
Speyside tasting like this. I think you've got to rip up that whole regionality
Styles
book
really
now.
now, though. You know what I mean?
Styles,
Like,
yeah.
because there's so many different types of styles from one region.
Yeah.
We were talking about this the other day on our Ireland episode. You know how regions, and I think
it's
exactly it.
nice. There's something nice about it, but yeah, look, as Ethan says, it's no hard and fast rules anymore. It's not that
No.
all whiskies from this region are going to taste like this.
Exactly. Yeah.
And talking about flavor profiles definitely more helpful. And understanding where those flavors come from.
Yeah,
You know?
100%.
Because then, like I say, take that information, run to the next one, and you will continue on your journey. Cool. Well, look, I sit here all afternoon, and we probably will off camera and shut your ear off, Ethan. But what a lineup you have bought! Thank you so much. It's incredibly generous of you. I have thoroughly enjoyed these 4 whiskies. They're kind of potentially progressively got more interesting. I don't know if that was designed or if it's just the way I've enjoyed them. But let's give a little bit of a roundup. Ethan, I'm not going to ask for your opinions in these roundups because I don't want it to come across as biased. But what I will ask you in a moment is which of these 4 is your favorite and why.
Choosing a
I
favorite
know
child.
it's tough. So have a little think. think. I'm also going to ask you what you're excited about, what's coming up, either with Diageo or here at Justerini, what you're doing, whether it's a tasting or a special release, something that you're excited about. So we'll come to you for that in a minute. We always do a bit of a roundup, though. So Stevie and I are going to give this a bit of a whirl. I appreciate Stevie.
Come on, man.
This is a pretty crazy lineup.
Come on.
It's not cheap, for starters. It's not your everyday drinking whiskey. A lot of this, like Petit Vague, first time trying a Petit Vague. Brora, maybe only the second time, third time trying
Second
a Brora.
time, yeah.
So it's a day of firsts for you and for me as well, to be honest. Shit, like, come on, 45-year-old Brora, 30-year-old Petit Vague. It doesn't happen every day, does it? This is very special. So let's see where we stand. I appreciate you're a little bit more budget conscious than I
I'm
am.
a realist, mate.
Okay.
All right.
I can be a little bit more frivolous with my spending, Ethan, if you haven't already clocked
You
it.
know me. I don't. I'm not shy of spending something, but let's be realistic.
All right, well let's give it a go. Let's start from
All
the
right.
off. The Johnny Walker Masters Cut. This was Jim Beveridge's final hurrah, as we said, and this is £1,000 a bottle.
Okay.
So £1,000 a bottle. This is Rose Isle and Cameron Bridge. I have to just say again before we get on to it, the elegance of simplicity. And what's incredible here is that the Rose Isle is 15 years or younger. So it's not like a seriously aged dram, but it has the profile of a whiskey that is 20 years plus, in my opinion. It must have some really good Cameron Bridge in here. But £1,000 a bottle. Buy, don't buy, oosh or bin it, sir. Where are we at?
See, I feel bad, right? But I've just got to be realistic again. I just about stretch for Blue Label sometimes. I'm not a massive Johnny Walker fan, really, but I appreciate it. This is lovely. This is like this is a cuddle in a glass. It's soft. It's
Cuddle
delicate.
in a glass. Okay.
You know what I mean? It's very soft and elegant and all of those wonderful things. And actually, it's amazing there's only 2 components in here, you know,
Right.
because with Johnny Walker, especially, the
Red
stuff-
Label or whatever. Yeah,
well,
it's-
anything,
it's a
even
lot
the
of
blue,
components.
there's always a lot of components. So it's really, really nice to try it. Almost, well, it's actually at the most sort of refined it could be, because any more refined it would just be a single. Well, right. So anyway, I'm going to pass on the £1,000 a bottle.
Okay.
However, it's lovely.
Okay.
Try it if you're at a tasting, right? Or
Yep.
if it's on a bar and it's, whatever, £80 a shot or whatever,
You'd be interested in having a drink.
Yes, I would.
Right.
Or splitting the bottle for a few friends, maybe, but yeah.
So this is where I'm at. For me, I can't see that in my collection or just as a bottle that I would be like, boom, let's go. I would definitely share it with 3 or 4 people. I'd pay £250 for a quarter of that bottle.
Yeah.
Happily.
Yes.
Very happily. And then I'd be a little bit more free and easy to enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's really delicious. And it's very interesting. And I think what I would want it for is that point of interest of, this is what a blend of 2 whiskies tastes like when it's done fucking properly. Boom. Done. It's delicious. Sensational. A little bit expensive for just myself. Quarter it up. I'm in. So a buy, just about a buy on that basis, but a strong buy if you look at it for value for money at a quarter of a bottle. The Petit Vague we moved on to, which we were looking at circa 1.2 thousand. So £1,200 for the Petit Vague. This is 30-year-old, 1992. You say we're not going to have older Petit Vague.
These were the oldest casks of Petit Vague we have, so
Which
we've got nothing left.
Just fucking take that into account for a second, my guy. I appreciate this is £200 more. Just think about that, because that's special.
1,200 quid.
1,200 quid.
You know what? That's not bad, really. Given its age, given it's a closed distillery, given that it's like this yummy.
Yeah.
It's chewy, it's gooey, it's that kind of... The Rolos, I've never had the Rolos at the Hawksmoor, but I can see where
we'll go right
from.
away now,
Let's
mate.
do it, mate.
We will experience that for the first time as well.
Let's do it. It's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it, given its heritage, given the liquid. I think we talk about this sometimes as well, like how it's not necessarily a price thing for me, it's how much I enjoy it. And if you personally enjoy something that much and it's that tasty, then you're going to pay for
100%.
it, right? So, you know what? I would stretch to 1,200 quid, and I think that's probably undervalued in my opinion, given how good it tastes.
Yeah. I'm with you on it. It's a very, very strong buy for me. It's actually verging towards the noosh, because every time I've gone back to that,
it is good.
It's opening and opening and opening up more. It's not the sort of thing that I would crack on just a Monday. So thank you so much for cracking it for us on this wonderful Monday. I would love to do, and this is 30 years old, I'd love to do like a birthday year tasting and have this sort of thing included. Have 5-10 friends over, putting some seriously cool whiskies out. And I think that you pour this and people go, what's Petit Vache? What is this?
Yeah. I admit, I was looking at it earlier.
What the fuck is this that you're pouring me?
I'm glad you said it first, because I was trying to work it out. But yeah.
And I think it would excite, and I think it would probably be the favourite for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
It's not my favourite of the lineup, but I do hunt out more along this Brora, and that Port Ellen again, it's sensational. But it's spectacular for what it does. I don't know. Is it a douche? It's very fucking close.
It's good.
I think if I,
Go on.
Now that I've had another little sup, I'm going to give it an oosh. Oosh! There it is. It's delicious. And like you said, look, £1,200. I appreciate everyone at home. It's not cheap. We're not talking about this from a frivolity point of view, though. That is well worth the money.
Yeah.
It's delicious. It's special occasion whiskey, but that's for a very special occasion, and it's delicious. Love it. Delicious. We moved on to the Brora. I think I've probably been most blown away by this today. Although I'm still going back and forth with that Port Ellen. It's interesting. Let's not front, though. This is £15,000 a bottle.
Yeah.
Okay. So, with that said, I'm going to you first.
It's well out of my budget, mate.
Yeah.
Unless I was to sell a vehicle.
Right.
Or remortgage. Right. Do you know what I mean? Like...
Sell a kidney.
Yeah, or a kidney.
You only need your liver to digest it, mate. You'll be all right without one of your kidneys.
Listen, there's no getting away how... or how lucky I am to try this. So thank you, Ethan.
Pleasure.
And it's delicious.
Yeah.
I do prefer the Petit Vague. That is my favourite of today.
Gas, okay.
But this is something else as well on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
However, 15 grand, I can't. No.
Out of your budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'll say exactly the same thing. Unfortunately, it's out of my budget. What does that make me want to do? Earn more fucking money. If I could afford this, I would buy this.
But that's as well why you should come
100% buy
to,
this.
go to tasting, seek out sort of like at the whiskey event.
Yeah.
Those tastings.
That was £125.
And the year before that was £100 a ticket.
£100 a ticket. And we sampled nearly £70,000 worth of whiskey there.
And do you do public tastings here as well as private?
No, so this is more. It's private.
This is private. Okay,
fine. I wouldn't say that. This is our kind of private hosting space. It's a client consultation space.
For sure.
Just before you have a queue of people
Yeah, I was going to say.
out in the arcade.
Don't put my number on the... Nobody put my number in the comments either that knows me.
Gas.
But you're going to find, you guys do tastings. You pop up at events.
Yeah, if you
things like this.
see Ethan's name,
Yeah.
or Justerini and
Yeah.
Brooks, or Diageo Old and Rare,
And the
or any
ticket's
of these
100 or
brands,
120 quid. Don't think twice.
don't even think. Yeah, don't wait.
Honestly,
Don't
like,
wait.
I'm not just saying that.
I tell you what, the whiskey event sold out like that. The
Quick, it went
Diageo
quickly,
one,
didn't it?
Yeah,
I think it was
very
10
quick.
minutes.
Something
Just
like that, yeah.
disappeared.
Thank Colin Dunn for that. He bought most of them.
No, listen. That was an incredible event, I have to say. We really enjoyed it. Both of you, the way you paired up for that was great. I loved the way you split that. It was a really, really great
But there
event.
are people, and we've seen in the comments, you know, quite recently, like, oh, I'm not even going to watch this episode because I'd never be able to afford it. Nor will we, but that's why when those tickets become available at these sorts of events, don't think, just get them.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can. It is very reasonable. 100 quid still, to some people, is a lot of money. I appreciate.
No, but if you're on a whiskey journey of exploration and you want to invest in yourself, there's no better value for money, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, again, we're very lucky to be here today. And as Stevie said, thank you so much for sharing that. Sensational. If I had the money, wouldn't even think about it. That's one of the best whiskeys I've ever tried. I think I can say quite confidently. Very well balanced,
statement.
very interesting. It is a big statement.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't even feel like I'm going out on a limb with it. It's old world whiskey. There is that sense of it, and I can't put it into any better words.
It's classic. It's classic. It's not... It's just really, really good whiskey that's
Yeah.
done really well.
Yeah.
It's got an incredible story behind it. The distillery itself is just legendary anyway.
And the balance between cask and distillate at 45 years. Again, you think about 45-year-old whiskey. I've tried so many things that it's just like, all right, just sucking on wood here. Like, fucking hell, this is not good. Incredible. Yeah, need to start earning more money, mate. That £15,000 for a bottle on a Friday, that's where we want to be. I love it. All right, cool. Insane whiskey. And then we finished off with the Port Ellen, which
You haven't actually said if it's a buy or an oosh yet.
I would say don't buy just because I can't afford it.
Fair
If I
enough.
could afford it, it would be an oosh.
Fair enough.
But I
Yeah,
can't give
yeah.
the two ratings.
Yeah, it would
I
be
don't
a
feel
strong
that.
buy if I could afford it.
No, it would be an oosh if I could afford it. Definitely. Unfortunately, out of my budget, I won't be buying it. But yeah. What's that? It's a bird. No, we finished off with the Port Ellen, which you very kindly brought along out of your own collection, Ethan. This was the first Port Ellen released after the distillery shut down.
As far as I'm aware.
Probably, 99% sure. And one of the first Diageo Old and Rare.
It was the first special release.
Special
from the
release,
first
sorry,
set.
special
yeah, there was two
releases, yeah.
Taliskers and a Port Ellen, and this was the Port Ellen.
I love the two Taliskers and a Port Ellen.
It's
What a
just a
weird
flex,
little release.
wasn't it?
Yeah. Gas. Cool. But young, 22.
Mm-hmm.
22. 22-year-old Port Ellen. As we said, looking online, you can kind of get this anywhere between £1,700 and £5,000, which is quite a big little ball field to be playing in. But c'est la vie. Let's work on the lower end of that. Let's say 1,700. Stevie, Port Ellen, £1,700. Are you excited
I've spent all
enough?
my money, mate.
Yeah. You've tried a Port Ellen recently?
Did I?
Oh no, it was your friend who opened the Port Ellen on the podcast for us,
I
right?
think that was a 24 or something like that. But yeah, this is delicious, and actually, the longer you leave it, the more the sweet notes are really opening up for me. You know,
I think all of these whiskies, particularly the last three, but all of them continue to just give more and more and more and more and more. So this is the thing. Again, we look at old and rare whiskies, we look at expensive whiskies, and it's like, what are we paying for? The experience is completely different to your average sort of everyday non-age statement drinker.
This is why I link it to wine as well. Like whiskies do, you leave them open for a little bit, they are going to change.
Right.
Yes, they will oxidize a little bit.
Yeah,
Just
100%.
Like, I wouldn't necessarily open one 2 hours, 3 hours, maybe even some people I know open wine the day before.
Right.
If it's really kind of top end. But I mean, I would open this a couple of hours before I drink it. I'd never kind of pre-pour if I'm doing an event or anything more than 2 hours before. But this will completely change.
Yes,
I think a lot of it, it softens the alcohol, just relaxes. I mean, this hasn't seen air in, well, released in 2001, wasn't it? So
yeah, 23 years.
Yeah, so this has been cooped up in that bottle since then. So
yeah, and I think the more that bottle depreciates, you know, the more you're going to get probably those softer, fruity notes come through.
You're going to have a wonderful visit to Port Ellen with it, I think. Yeah, definitely. Good stuff. All right, cool. So £1,700 though, Stevie.
Yeah, again, listen, I think it's well worth it. I think it's good value for money. I mean, there's probably a lot of people at home that are going to be like,
But the fact that you're saying that means a lot, because I say that and people go, all right,
but it's
Jake, you're a
just,
fucking
again,
twat, but-
like when something grabs you, like doesn't matter what it costs, that's that yummy. However, I've spent my money, it still is just up there,
Oh, you're not sure? It's a don't buy?
It's a date buy.
Okay.
But it's fine because Ethan bought it. So,
You've got a mate.
Yeah.
There you go. Fair enough.
No, I really appreciate the opening.
pleasure.
That's awesome, man. And thank you for sharing it with us. Again, I'm just gonna be a bit realistic about it, And we could sit here and play Monopoly Money and go, yeah, I'll buy that, I'll buy that, I'll buy that.
Yeah.
But in reality, if I saw it on the shelf, would I?
Little bit of a stretch.
I would have to really think. So,
And if you've gone for the Petit Vague,
yeah, exactly.
this one,
Yep.
the Petit Vague beats it out by a bit for you, right?
Oh yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think exactly. Yeah, the sweetness, and the Petit Vague for me does it. So,
For me, I think I would buy it without tasting it from the point of view of if this is the first Port Ellen and the first of the special releases, I'd like that in my collection just from that point of view. Now that I've tried
Now
it...
you tell me now I've opened it.
Yeah. I would have paid £5,000 and I would have probably wanted to buy it just anyway. I actually don't own any Port Ellen, which is a bit of a shame actually now that I think of it and I have this beautiful glass in my hand and I'm enjoying this whiskey. I would buy this, definitely. It's a very, very strong buy. And again, kind of going towards an Ouche, I don't think it quite gets there for me, just because of that gap. Thinking about like if I couldn't get it at 1,700, I might have to spend 2, 3, 4. I wouldn't spend $5,000 on it. But that sliding scale is there. I think it's delicious. I think it's really cool. Like you said, a beautiful expression of Port Ellen. Yum. I don't know what else there is to say. I would buy it for £1,700 to $2,000. I'm in, and it's a very strong buy at that price. Again, I'm not going to crack it on any old day, and thank you so much for cracking this on Monday. But
it doesn't sound mental for what you'd think 22-year-old
It's
Port Ellen should
so
be,
worth
and
it.
especially when it's that first release. It's, I would think
it's so worth it, and from a point of view, exactly that, of being able to sit around with a bunch of whiskey geeks and go, this is the first, and this is that, and it's really young in the grand scheme of Port Ellen, and blah, 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 blah. Boom. Like, this is 2001 this was released. People weren't buying whiskey the way people are buying whiskey now in 2001. It's a completely different market. And that's what I love about this. This is, a time gone by from the point of view of the actual liquid being made and all of that side of things. But it's a time gone by from the point of view of the marketplace as well. Mm-hmm. Sensational. Really, really good. Before we come over to you, Ethan, and those questions we asked, I'm just going to double check. Petit Vague is your favorite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to land on the Brora.
Which is a shame because
As I'm swilling around this Port Ellen, I'm thinking it's close, and it's close with the Petit Vague as well. It's actually a very tight lineup. I think the Brora...
I know who would really enjoy that Petit Vague.
Who?
Ian.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
I think he's struggled with Petit Vague before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think though that sherry, I think it's got that classic.
I agree. I think
old
that he would
school
love.
sherry note.
Yeah.
That he seeks. So
Yeah, I think the Brora is my favourite. But, Ethan, coming to you, sir, what is the favourite of the lineup here today for you?
I was just saying it's like choosing a favourite child. In terms of the liquid itself, the Brora blew me away the most. Out of actually a lot of the whiskies, most of the whiskies I've ever tried, it's definitely up there in my top 5 whiskies of all time. The Petit
Wow,
Vague-
that's saying something as well. That's
the
really,
Brora is 100% up there. The Petit Vague is my very close number 2, as in that I would comfortably kind of crack a Petit Vague open and enjoy that dram with friends.
Yeah, cool. I like it.
Port Ellen again, I love it. My favourite Port Ellen of all time is the 9 Road casks. It's a 40-year-old. It's kind of you can still see that around a lot more.
Okay.
9 casks, kind of a combination of sherry and bourbon casks. It's just a completely different experience of Port Ellen.
Okay.
It's different. It's a different kind of Port Ellen to this style. This is classic. Try it. The Johnny Walker, I very much appreciate the style. I really, really like it as a liquid. I think it's amazing. But I think just in terms of my personal preference, I'm going to go with the Petit Vague.
Okay, cool. I like it.
as your favourite.
Of the day.
Okay.
Yeah, of the day. And just putting all factors in.
Sure. And the Port Ellen?
Are
It's
you
your
glad that
first
you
time-
bought the Port Ellen? Is it?
Oh, yeah.
It's a good part of your collection now that you've tried it.
Yeah, and now I've got an excuse to drink it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and compare it. I'm fortunate. I get to try I have and do get to try a range of Port Ellens, and now I can put this in the lineup.
Fantastic.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Cool. And Ethan, then what's coming next that you're most excited about, whether it's for you here at Justerini and Brooks, if there's anything happening with Diageo's sort of old, fine and rare sort of department as a whole? Is there something cool that you get to do lots of tastings. You've got loads of cool stuff happening all the time. As Stevie said, if you ever see a tasting going on and Ethan's name attached to it, buy yourself a ticket. But what's happening for you that you're most excited about next?
Well, it's coming up to festival season, isn't it? I mean, you've got things like the Whiskey Show. You've got all sorts of festivals across the country. That's now starting to ramp up.
Okay.
I'm off to Isla in August, in a few weeks, which I'm very excited about, heading to Port Ellen, Lagavulin and Kalila. So I can't brush that into one side. It's always an amazing experience.
Cool.
In terms of releases, I think you'd love to know, but I'm not going to tell you any of that.
No!
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right.
I'd get someone in a suit really slap me on the wrist for spilling the beans. But
Okay.
I'm sure there'll be things.
There's some cool stuff though?
Absolutely.
And are we looking at it from the point of view of it's super old and rare, or you're not giving
There's a
us
real
anything?
range. There might be a real range of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, well, lots of exciting stuff to come.
Yeah, I'm sorry to disappoint.
No, hey, look, if you don't ask, you don't get. I'm always asking,
Precisely.
as you know. So there we go. That's cool. What an afternoon. Thank you so much. Not only is
Pleasure.
this a beautiful place, but what incredible whiskies and what a host you've been. So thank you so much for hosting us this afternoon,
Thank you for
Ethan.
coming down.
Really, really appreciate it. Guys, at home, please drop in the comments what has been your favourite dram to hear about of the day. Let us know. Equally, if you've tried any of the juice from any of these distilleries, drop it in the comments. But for us here at Uncut and Unfiltered, this has been an amazing afternoon with Ethan Yule and Justerini Brooks here in London. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time. Slán.
Sasha.